Good evening and welcome to Left, Right and Centre this Tuesday night. I'm Nidhi Razdan. On the show this evening, India's Foreign Minister defends America's snooping, says their scrutiny prevented terror attacks in many countries. Is India's response to US surveillance meek or is it pragmatic? Also this evening, the CBI will file its charge sheet in the Ishrat Jahan fake encounter case tomorrow. As the political war over this blows up, is the CBI being misused as the BJP alleges, or will this take the story one step closer to Gujarat's political leadership? Those are the big debates, but first tonight, India today denied asylum to Edward Snowden, the American who blew the lid of surveillance of American citizens and millions of others around the world. Snowden had sent asylum requests to 21 countries, including India. At a time when world leaders have strongly condemned America for snooping on other countries, India's Foreign Minister Salman Khurshid today defended it, saying it's actually not snooping, it's scrutiny. This is on a day when India revealed its own national cybersecurity policy, a policy that many believe will give the government another reason to watch its citizens.
It's not actually snooping on and specifically on anybody's, the content of anybody's message or anybody's conversation. But I don't think we should, we should be raising it to such a high level that it becomes a matter of a serious question.
A much meeker response from India compared to the international storm over allegations of US National Security Agency snooping. Meeker than even India's own response a few days ago.
If Indian laws relating to privacy of information of Indian ordinary citizens have been violated, surely we would find it unacceptable.
Denying asylum to whistleblower Snowden, the watered-down response of the Indian government seems to stem from hesitation to stand up to the US.
They were able to use it to prevent serious terrorist attacks in several countries. Now, if that is so, and that is shared with us, we can hardly complain.
A craven statement from a craven minister representing a craven government. At least they should learn from the French president or even the German chancellor. They are very close allies of the United States. And here you have this Shashtang Pranam Avatar of the UPA government.
Kapil Sibal today announced India's cybersecurity policy, which will aim to protect critical infrastructure like nuclear installations, railway systems and electricity supply, sensitize companies and government offices on cybersecurity, look at public and private partnership, build capacity to fight cybercrime. 5 lakh personnel will be trained in the next 4 years. It will also look at using indigenous equipment.
The biggest challenge the Indian government faces is ensuring security on cyberspace without impinging freedom of speech. Reporting from New Delhi with Vijay, Anchal Vora, NDTV.
Well, on the show with us tonight to talk about that, about whether India's response to this has been a meek response or whether it has been a pragmatic one, we're joined by KC Singh, former Secretary in the Ministry of External Affairs. Columnist Nitin Pai joins us tonight from Bangalore. We have Jitin Jain, the co-founder of the Hackers Conference, who has now in fact said he's going to petition the Lok Sabha and ask for a parliamentary committee to be formed to look at all these revelations that are coming out as a result of what Snowden has been saying. BJP spokesperson Sudhanshu Trivedi joins us this evening, as does the Congress's Sanjay Jha. Let me ask Mr. KC Singh first. Mr. Singh, you look at the entire world's reaction to this entire snooping controversy, whether it's the Germans, whether it's the French, everyone's reacted very angrily to this, and then we have Mr. Salman Khurshid saying today in a line very different from the original MEA response, which is that it's not actually snooping, it's just scrutiny and it actually prevented terror attacks. What do you make of his statement today?
Nidhi, it started the day he had a joint press conference with Mr. John Kerry. If you remember, there was a question which was asked where the question posed was, did you raise, the exact word was, did you raise the cyber issue with Mr. Kerry? And he said, no, don't call it raise. We discussed it. Now, you know, he's been having a verbal dysfunction for the last 2 weeks. Now, he thinks that he has to protect the Americans. Now, at a time when even the close allies of America in Europe are indignant, you expect the Indian Foreign Minister, External Affairs Minister to really express some indignation and say, between friends, it's understandable you keep an eye on each other, but why does he have to be defending them? He's providing alibis from America. Let Americans defend themselves.
Okay, so you feel he's providing alibis and it's a completely meek response, and you think that's because we're coming under intense American pressure on this? How come America's other friends have stood up to them and not us?
No, absolutely. That is, look at Germany, look at NATO allies of US. You know, you have to call a spade a spade. Now, Mr. Khurshid thinks diplomacy is some kind of Lakhnoi, pehle aap kind of thing where you have to be bending backwards. That is not modern diplomacy. I'm afraid he needs to go back and learn diplomacy as it is practiced in today's world. You call a spade when your national interests are at stake, and he has to do it.
Nitin Pai, what's your view on that then? Do you believe that when that as Mr. KC Singh says that there's a verbal dysfunction going on here with the foreign minister, that we're bending over backwards, we're not able to show any spine on this issue? This is actually a very serious issue, but it's something that we in this country perhaps don't take seriously enough.
Well, I think the foreign minister could have certainly been more precise and accurate and forthright in the words which he used. But I think at the base of it is we've got to separate the rhetoric from reality. There is no way any ally of the United States or India or any other country can stop the United States from doing what it's doing. The United States is acting in its self-interest. It's got the capability to do what it wants to do, and there's just no power on earth which can actually stop them. Words are not going to stop them. Actions might stop them if we get to a position where other countries have the kind of capabilities to run an arms race in cyberspace with them and stop them and achieve a balance of terror or balance of power. So I think what we have to distinguish is rhetoric has its place, making diplomatic protests has its place, showing your spine has its place, but at the bottom of it all, we've got to realize that we can do nothing to stop the Americans from doing what they want to do.
But then, if we can't do anything about it, does that mean you shouldn't be outraged about it either? When the facts are placed before you, shouldn't there be a little more indignation about it?
I don't think indignation is a very useful sentiment when it comes to international relations. I think there are effectively four things which are possible. A, the government can do nothing. B, the government can act to defend our networks, our government networks and security networks, to prevent them from being eavesdropped and hacked or snooped. C, we can try to pay the Americans back in their own coin if we have the capability to do so, which we don't have at this point in time. And the fourth is, if you can't stop them, you join them. One of the interesting things here is, why not we collaborate with the Americans to learn the technologies which they use, adopt some of the methods that they use, and at some point in time we have more options and we can do what we want to do with the Americans.
Okay, I get Mr. KC Singh to quickly respond to that. Mr. Singh, indignation doesn't help in diplomacy, posturing will not help in diplomacy, rhetoric won't help either. I think what Nitin is saying is that let's get real, be pragmatic about this. If you can't stop them, join them. Interesting.
No, he is assuming that nothing can be done about it. This matter that these servers are under US control, and it is a global facility available all over the world, it's a global common, is now showing that US cannot be trusted with those servers. Therefore, there is already a discussion at the multilateral level. UN has discussed it, where countries are saying that there must be multilateral oversight of the servers. Now, at the moment what is happening, there are 10 odd judges in America, they take an order from them, and it's not even snooping. Yahoo and the others are duty bound to give whatever the US government wants. And this is where I think Salman Khurshid went wrong, because he fell for the explanation that Kerry gave, which was only partly correct, which is that the PRISM scheme which has been designed does a random scanning of telephone calls, but we are not looking at content. Now it turns out they are looking at content too. So therefore, US has, I think, given up their right as a custodian of the servers, and therefore the world needs to take them away. And this needs to be taken up with various countries.
Okay, so you believe it can be taken up. Before I get the politicians in, let me ask Jitin to come in on this as an ethical hacker. You strongly believe, though, that this is outrageous and that India should take a stronger stand.
Well, I would like to ask three simple questions on the behalf of all the citizens of India to our Honorable Foreign Minister. Question number one, Mr. Salman Khurshid is collecting the video calls data, the chat records, the emails, the audio records, the entire surfing records of your Indian citizens. Is it scanning or snooping, Mr. Salman Khurshid? And if this is scanning, who permitted it to Americans to do it? Have you sold out our privacy rights to the United States of America, Mr. Khurshid? Third, Question number 3, what sort of foreign minister are you who has no problem when the rights of 700 million citizens of your country, privacy rights are being compromised, your embassies are bugged, your palaces, your agencies are being spied upon, and you say this is normal scanning?
Okay, so you clearly feel...
I agree with Mr. Casey saying that America has lost the right to be the protectors and custodians of internet servers and all the institutions. Since all the internet administrative bodies are registered in America, all the servers are stored there, and all this optic fiber cables are passing through UK, which they have been spying upon. I think the time has come to put the entire internet managing organization and institutions under the UN control, and that is what I have specifically asked in my petition to the Parliament, that they must compel Indian government to now take this matter to the United Nations, so that the rights and privacy and national security and our national interests are being protected. A special committee of Parliament should be formed, because this issue relates to the defense and foreign relations, which is out of the jurisdiction of Supreme Court. Supreme Court has already dismissed a petition last week. They said we have no jurisdiction over US agencies, and they said you should appropriate forum which has got jurisdiction over defense and foreign relations. So first prayer I have made in the parliamentary petition is that please appoint a special committee of Parliament to look into this, since it pertains to the foreign relations and defense.
Okay, so is the problem that we don't take privacy issues seriously in this country? Is it, Sanjay Jha, as Jitin was saying, have you sold our privacy rights to the United States? Are privacy issues not taken seriously enough in India? Look at our privacy laws. Are they a bit of a joke?
Nidhi, I think I've heard all the panelists. I can understand the emotional outpouring. But let me tell you that the debate between security and privacy, or ability, or given the rights of freedom of expression, is something that is a critical debate. Nobody's denying that. In fact, let me tell you that we all have to accept it. We are living in a post 9/11 world. Now, the truth is that, frankly, the one common element that both India and US have, I'm not trying to defend the US action, is that both countries are extremely susceptible to terrorism, and India more so. I mean, they had an attack at Boston after 9/11 some time back, but we have been ravaged by terrorism. Now, let us not be disrespectful towards the foreign minister. Why are we assuming that in his conversations with Secretary of State John Kerry, they have not looked at this issue with the seriousness it deserves? This is an issue which...
But is that reflected in his public statement? Sanjay Jha, let's just look at his public statement today. Is it reflected there? It's not snooping, it's scrutiny.
No.
Look at the reactions of President Hollande. Look at the reactions of the German Chancellor. Look at how other world leaders have reacted.
There's a fundamental point, Nidhi, that Salman Khurshid has made. And to answer somebody as a blogger or whoever, the ethical hacker, I'll just come to that. That's the biggest oxymoron I've ever heard, but I'll come to that. That end of day, what has he said? That you have something called as trends, as patterns, as certain behavioral online conduct. Now these are actually things that cyber security experts look into. If anyone believes that any government can actually look into each and every message to track a supposed future criminal, I mean, nobody can afford that time. So your message is only looked at when there is some perceptible concern for worry. That's point number one. Point number two, to my ethical hacker friend out there, let me tell you, the problem is that individuals in today's modern world, and I have been on debates where I've questioned that, you're already submitting your entire privacy in Google, on Facebook, on Twitter, or on multiple social media sites. You have already given those rights to Facebook and to many other, MySpace and so on and so forth. So end of day, there is a certain vulnerability that is already available. Now today, whether we like it or not, it's a responsibility of the state to prevent terrorism and the security of its citizens. I totally agree with you. As an individual who lives in my own country, I know that India, we are respecting our civil liberties and freedom. But there is going to be a point at which every government needs to draw a line and say, listen, at which point do I need to worry if there is a trend? We saw with Assam what happened some time ago, Nidhi.
Jitin wants to respond to you. Jitin wants to respond to you, then I'll come to Sudhanshu, who's been waiting patiently.
Mr. Sanjay Jha, the point number one you have raised, that they were only looking at few conversations or the pattern of call records and everything. As per Indian laws, you need the permission of Home Secretary to monitor even one single phone call. Who gave the right to US to look at the phone records of the millions of users and the internet surfing history and chat records of millions of Indian citizens? Who gave them that right? Are you aiding them? Are you supporting them? Point number 2,
I
you are
think
saying
missed the point.
No,
You
excuse
missed the
me,
point.
excuse
It's
me.
supposing that
Okay,
is
one at a
something
time, one at a time.
Mr. Sanjay Jha, let me complete.
You
I
have
have
given
listened to
those
Sanjay,
your
I'll come
sentence.
back to you. I'll come back to you. Let him finish, then I'll come to Sudhanshu
Sanjay
and I'll
Jha,
come back
please
to you.
listen to my point number 2. You were saying US is a friendly country and we should be respectful to our foreign minister. All right, but then Mr. Foreign Minister should be respectful to the national security and the sentiments of Indian people. Do the friends spy on themselves or do the enemy should spy on us?
Okay, but
It
that
is all right
brings
that
me to
America
another
can spy.
aspect of this.
America has a right to spy. America has a right to spy on foreigners. But government of India has no business to assist America in aiding them to spy on Indian citizens.
Let me ask the BJP spokesperson, that Sudhanshu Trivedi, let's just get practical here for a minute. Isn't it true, and I want to ask Mr. KC Singh this as well after this, that governments routinely spy on other governments all the time? It doesn't matter whether you are deemed a friend or an enemy or whatever. Diplomats in fact expect surveillance at one level.
This event is having 2 points. One is a political one, another is a technical one. As far as the political one is concerned, I consider the response of the foreign minister is a weak and uncalled for, but not surprising, because whatever he has done with the talks with Mr. John Kerry, if you remember, during the Chinese intrusion in the Dawlat Beg LD, in the initial stages, the government said it is a localized affair. Then afterwards, when he went to China, he has not raised this question with the Chinese premier. So it is just an example of the diplomatic weakness which has come on the part of India under this UPA-1 government. Now the other aspect, on the technical aspect, I am really surprised that in such a short span of time, Honorable Foreign Minister has drawn a conclusion that it was not an snooping, it was just an scrutiny. Second thing, the technical aspect is, what is the definition of scrutiny? As our panelists have raised the question, what is the definition of the scrutiny? When you want to trace a phone call, you want to have a permission from the government, then by what parameter and in such a span of time Foreign Minister has decided? It means they were not prepared, they were not having the diplomatic courage and neither having the technical know-how to contend this. So this on both the dimensions is representing a weak, porous and soft government.
Okay, weak, porous and soft government. Sanjay wants to respond and then I'd like to come back to Nitin and Mr. KC Singh. Yes, Sanjay. Sanjay, I mean, it comes back to the response again. I mean, at the end of the day, the foreign minister's response, when you contrast it with other world leaders, is a complete contrast. It's a contrast with our own response when this story initially broke.
Nidhi, I just want to make one point here. I mean, end of day, a lot of people today, I can understand the President of France and even the German Chancellor is worried, and it's understandable because end of day, I think
they
no
are not
government
worried, they are
wants any
acting.
other government, kind of snooping on it. That point is fine. But today, an Indian embassy gets attacked in, say, another overseas country. It's happened. US embassies have been attacked elsewhere in different parts of the world. So today, the war on terror needs a global network. Now, whether we like it or not, identifying terror outfits in different parts of the world requires a global coordination. Now, how governments do it, that's for them to work out. But to somebody here to believe that end of day you do not benefit from sharing information that might come on through online access, but digital privacy, I think these are issues that need to be understood in a right perspective.
Okay, two things emerge from this.
But the US, when it announced the Patriot Act after 9/11, I think the signal was to the whole world that somewhere we all have similar challenges. And I was reading President Barack Obama's statement in Africa the other day, where he said, frankly, all governments actually do end up snooping on each other or doing a security check as part of their normal surveillance system.
Mr. Sanjay Jha, just one point. You are acting like an American statesman, or foreign minister is acting like an American foreign minister. If you have so much of respect for America and they should share information, sorry, our constitution, our laws does not give any right to America to spy on our citizens. I think our agencies are capable enough to spy on our own citizens.
Okay, one second, we're digressing from the issue.
What sort of logic are you making?
We're digressing from the issue.
There are two important things.
How can you defend America?
Two important things that emerge from this.
Okay, all right.
How do you, one second, let me go to KC Singh here. Mr. Singh, how do you then balance the issues of national security and this issue of terrorism and cyber security, that is a valid issue on one hand, with these issues of privacy? It's an old debate, but it's a fine line that you have to walk. How do you balance that?
Let me now, I'm glad you asked that question because you can see the flaw in Mr. Jha's argument. Now, US has got the PRISM program, but piggybacking on that PRISM program, they've got their snooping and intelligence network. They are using a PRISM program as a Trojan horse, which is required for their global threat. We've been having a terrorism problem longer than the Americans, and we will deal with it. We don't need the PRISM for it. David Headley, they say, was delivered by the PRISM program, but he was delivered long after 26/11 took place. So what did you gain from it? They will not share that intelligence with you in real time. So we'll have to take care of our own security, but let's not allow them to raise this bogey and then use it to piggyback other things and snoop into your functioning. This is absolutely a bogus argument. And when, Mr. Jha loses an argument, he says the others are emotional. Now, emotional, answer the logic. We cannot outsource a national security to US's PRISM program and then have other intelligence things coming through that and snooping on your network. It's absolutely unacceptable.
Nitin Pai, let me ask you the question that I was asking Sudhanshu Trivedi, which is that at one level, don't diplomats know that there is going to be surveillance? Is some of this outrage overstated? What do you think?
Yeah, see, first of all, as I said, the diplomats and spies play their own games. There is no way you can control the actions of an intelligence agency of a foreign country. But I think we're losing track. There's one important thing which we can do, which we should worry about. This country urgently needs a debate between privacy and security. All that the government has been doing, all that the UPA government has been doing over the last 8 years, has been taking executive decisions on where the balance between security and privacy lies. There is no outside public debate, there is no debate in parliament, and yet we've gone ahead and made national cyber security policies without regard to where the balance between privacy and security should lie in a democratic society. I fully agree that we need to have that balance. I fully agree that some privacy has to be given up for the sake of security, but we as a nation, we as a republic have not made that decision in the open. It's been made behind closed doors by the executive, and we need a greater debate on that. What the US does with PRISM, what the US does to spy on other countries and our diplomats is a US problem. There's very little we can do about it. But we as a nation can do a lot about defining the boundaries between privacy and security, and we're not doing that. We are spending 90% of the time in this debate debating what the United States ought to do and ought not to do. We've not spent any time discussing what the government of India is doing with respect to our privacy and our security.
Okay, last quick word, Sudhanshu Trivedi, do you agree with that it's time to have a proper debate on this issue of privacy and security, that we need to find that balance and we need to talk about it cutting across political lines?
The context which has been raised by Mr. Jha, that on this era of global terrorism you need a global coordination. In this context, I would like to raise a question that when foreign minister has reached to this conclusion in such a short time, it means which were the tools and by which logic he has reached this conclusion. Second thing, or he was already knowing this. There can only be two possibilities which can be drawn from this statement of foreign minister. Either he has drawn such a quick conclusion or he was already knowing this. So he should make it clear before the country whether it was already in connivance with the US or by which tool you have gone to such a quick, you can say such quick conclusion. This is my basic question to the Congress party.
Sanjay Jha, last word.
Can I answer that?
Yes.
Nidhi, let me tell you, I think the UPA government fully respects the freedom of each and every citizen of this country. I don't think there's question of any compromises in that at all. Yes, like all countries today, I think the digital world is posing as a challenge. In fact, today, even as we talk, Google itself is actually talking about how the online models can be helped to prevent terrorism. So there is going to be greater dialogue and debate. I agree with what Nitin said. There needs to be a more transparent debate though as to the lines, the fine lines that actually blur between privacy and security. The state has a responsibility. We have to respect each and every citizen's freedom of expression, but we somewhere down the line are also responsible for the lives and security of each and every person in the country as well. So it's a fine balance, and I think we need to strike that. For the debate, I think we'll
Jitin, don't you agree that like Nitin Pai says, that you have to give up some privacy for the sake of security?
I would like to point one thing. Since both BJP and Congress are agreeing that there should be a debate in the parliament, my petition is now pending, which is asking for a prayer for an immediate debate in the parliament. I hope both of these parties will take up, since the petition is now in the parliament. Point number two, as Nitin Pai has said, that we cannot stop America from doing what they want. Let me tell you, if these companies like Facebook, Google, which are the providers of raw data to the US government, if they cannot follow the law of the land in India, they have no business to operate in our land, and they can be blocked. Our ISPs can be asked, and courts can direct our ISPs to block their sites, and they can be compelled to file on record that what all data they have shared with the US government, the truth will come out.
Nitin Pai, shaking your head. Quick, last 20 seconds. I'm giving everyone the last word.
I mean, you should just ask people how many people have moved out of Google, Facebook, Twitter and all these things after the revelations came
photos
out?
of Sonia Gandhi and other
Absolutely
leaders
nobody.
uploaded,
Right?
you are
So-
good enough, you are happy enough to file FIRs, prosecute them in the courts, but if the data of 700 million Indian users are stolen, you say we cannot do anything. We can, if there is a will and if there is a steel in the government, they can, and they can show the way.
All right, it's a fascinating debate, gentlemen. I have to leave it at that. Sudhanshu Trivedi and Sanjay Jha will stay with us. When we come back after this break, we're going to talk about the big political story that's unfolding this week, the charge sheet